Hello, world. This is your host, Melody Garcia.
And I'm Janie Lacey.
Welcome to our podcast, Life Unscripted.
A podcast like none other, as we take you on a journey to share real-life stories of some of the most iconic influencers in the world who had broken the scripts that once chained them.
We will hear about their stories of breakdown to breakthroughs, golden wisdoms, and actions that took their life into meteoric levels.
Our goal is to always provide our listeners values and applications that will allow you to live your best life.
Welcome and enjoy our show.
Welcome to another episode of Life Unscripted. I'm your host, Melody Garcia.
And I'm Janie Lacey.
And today we are so excited to bring the world internationally renowned, none other than Reid. And for those of you, I wish you could see him doing the dancing over there. How are you, Greg?
I am always good.
Well, before we continue, for those who have not heard about who this person is, we're going to kick it off by just giving just a tiny bit of information on who this man truly is. And when I say tiny bit, I mean the bios I'm reading here doesn't do him justice. So we're going to talk about his life journey here in a second. But Reid is a known international keynote speaker, a master storyteller who's going to make you see what is possible. His experience, this is what kind of made me chuckle, on stage is like a roller coaster you will not forget, with twists and turns and surprises that will ignite your senses, leaving you on your feet screaming for more. And then we turn over to the fact, Janie's laughing, that he's also a producer and writer known for 4 movies such as 3 Feet from Gold, Pass It On, and Wishman, which we're going to be talking about. Well, then, of course, then we turn over to the blogging world. It says, take a ride with Greg and experience he does the wonders of the world and connections life brings. Change your life and the lives of others. Determine what your needs for successes are in becoming a champion. And then, ready for this, Janie? Of course, none other than Greg would be the person that would have 28 bestsellers in 45 different countries, that has been published, co-authored, and featured in over 50 books, 5 motion pictures, and featured in countless of magazines, which, again, consistency in who he truly is and his character will share and does share the most valuable lessons we learn that sometimes are also the easiest ones to apply. So I'm going to stop right there because, again, we only have a short time in this podcast, and I want to take the time of him really talking about his life journey, but a very impressive bio, if I may say, Mr. Reid, that I'm just happy that you're part of our Life Unscripted podcast. So, Janie, I'll kick it off to you.
So we want to officially welcome you to Life Unscripted, Reid. Yay! You know, we want to congratulate you on all that you have done and all that you have contributed to just life and lessons. And we're looking forward to diving in, you know, because Life Unscripted focuses on just that. We unscript our life of limiting beliefs, our perceived expectations that are conditioned by society, generations, culture, religion, and ourself that prevents us from really being happy and free to live that best fulfilled life in all sectors. So there is so much that we can learn from you. But you know what, I was interested in learning about you and all the different types of things that you are doing is learning a little bit about your Secret Knox organization. How did that get started? And could you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. But the way you guys introduced me, I'd like to take this moment to thank my family and friends and peers and coworkers. Yeah, my dog's been there for me. So it's interesting. You know, you can't be a prophet in your own hometown, right? So like my own family has no idea what I do for a living, but it's kind of funny how it is. You know, it's kind of like I go to my mom and say, hey, Mom, I just came out with a new bestseller. That's great. Take out the trash. So it's
real life, Greg, real life.
It's a real life. So here's the gig. So I've been spending my life traveling the world, meeting the most powerful and influential people, and then I tell their story and books and movies. And now it's been 74 books, believe it or not. It's just been crazy little journey.
Nice.
And so, I mean, it's not a bad gig if you can get it, needless to say, but people kept asking me, how do I meet your friends? So in my house, I started an event with 12 people, and I introduced them to a couple of the people I met, and it grew and grew to what it is today. Now we're Forbes, Inc., and Entrepreneurs, like recognized top event for business leaders. And we did it the opposite way. Instead of talking about how great our speakers and how great everyone is, we got said, hey, it costs a lot of money, but we won't tell you where it is or who will be there. It's the opposite. And what happened is we started attracting amazing human beings, and we come together as a collective where you're not just like a seminar junkie, you're a participant and get to hang out and get mentored by these amazing people. There you go.
Very interesting, because as a psychotherapist, I believe that people can get stuck in their stories. So just hearing just us being a storyteller and being able to help people tell their stories is always helpful to those that hear the stories, which is why I believe that once we get in touch with our own story and we grow through that, then we can move beyond that to help other people. So when you think about just some of the things that have impacted you to become that storyteller and to get people together, I mean, what is that drive for you, Greg?
Well, first of all, I got a bunch of crap for it when I was a kid. I mean, come on, in school, I got in trouble for making up stories and being a fairy tale guy, right? And so it's kind of ironic that that's my job nowadays. And the way that, you know, I share stories is I don't talk about myself. I mean, quite frankly, I don't think people want to hear about Greg. So what I do is I meet these amazing people that you recognize and tell their stories. Can I share one of them with you guys real quick? It'll be 3 minutes. So one of my favorite interviews I did was Steve Wozniak, the guy who created Apple computers with Jobs. And I said, how did you and, Jobs have so much success? And he said, well, we embraced our lack. We embraced what we did not have. He goes, most people run from it. We ran towards it. And I said, what do you mean? He said, when microchip processors came out, these little chips were so expensive, we could only afford one. He goes, Jobs sold his Volkswagen. I sold my calculator. We pooled our money to buy one of these chips. Hewlett Packard would make these machines that goes from point A to point B using 20 chips. They had all the money of God. So I had to configure a way to pull away 5 and go from A to B with only using 15, and then pull away another 5, get it to go with 10. Till finally, we went from A to B using our one chip. He goes, look, we weren't trying to be innovative or cool or slick. We could afford one chip. But by embracing that as an opportunity, we found the shortest, cleanest path. And by doing that, we changed the way people do personal computing for the rest of the world, for the rest of their life. It says, where could you be in your own business? If you stop looking at your greatest obstacle, your greatest challenge, it could just be a greatest opportunity and blessing in disguise.
Isn't it amazing that sometimes in just the most simplistic way, the greatest ideas are born? And
Amen.
I heard that from you, from Secret Neck. I actually had the blessing of being able to hear some of Steve Wozniak's story from a convention I was in last November. And it's, to me, you know, we often think of what is impossible. And then you have answers like what you provided of going, well, you know, I've always got in trouble for talking to and storytelling. And who would have thought that, you know, current state, that you would then impact the world with the same giftings you've had when you were a child.
Okay, so I got to tell a quick little story about this. When I was 17, I left the house because, you know, back in my day when you're a kid, you want to get out. You don't want to live in there like these millennials all day. And so what was crazy as I was going, and my dad says to me, he goes, you got to go to college. He goes, we'll send you anywhere you want to go to college. And he says, no, I want to go out and get in the world. I want to be a sales guy. I want to market. I want to go out there and tell stories. And he looks at me and says, boy, he goes, you're never going to make a living talking to people. And so I was like, I think age 20, I made my first 6-figure income, and I sent him my W-2 and says, dear Dad, remember when you said I'd never make money talking to people? And now it's a family running joke because I'm a speaker. So go figure.
So before I deep dive on that, which is amazing, because I also see your interactions with your son in a cult, and it's just an absolutely beautiful element, you know, for me to watch. We don't really highlight a lot of father and son relationships out there in media, whether it's a single dad situation, with a lot of this, you see a lot of the single mom situations, but not really the single dad. So I applaud and honor you in the space that you bring your son in engagement and involvement. But more than anything, it's your relationship that is so evident on how much love and shaping that you have as an impact on him. I mean, the skateboarding had me, right? The skateboarding, I'm like, there goes Greg. And just, you are so engaged with him at a level that you can tell it's just Greg and Colt space. So for that, thank you, because you are impacting outside the film, outside the books, the single fathers that are out there. Of saying this is how much, no matter what is going on in your life, no matter all the authorship and everything else, when you spend quality time with your child, because that is your legacy forward, he is your legacy forward, right? The fact that it's just you and him. So even if there's cameras or photos pointing, I can honestly see that during that time with him, it's just you and him that exists in that world. So thank you for that. So my next question.
It's interesting on that point. Wait. Before you do that, I just got to share with you. See, our fathers, and especially our fathers, on average spent 7 minutes of FaceTime with us. And that's because they had jobs. And I think it was pretty admirable. They went to provide, and that was the way of that time. They went to the office and they sat in a cubicle and they did their jobs. My generation, fortunately, and today's generation, get to grow up where we're around our kids more often because we're entrepreneurs and we have more freedom. And the same note, a lot of times I grew up and go, oh, I didn't see my dad, and that's why I'm going through therapy. My kid's going to grow up and go, man, that guy would never go away. He was always there. So we never know the reverse effect this is going to have either, right?
Absolutely love that.
Janie, this is I don't think we've ever come across a space where children that are now adults have ever said, my parents spent too much time with me. So
his son will be secure and have healthy attachment. So he probably will not have a therapy fund.
There you go.
So anyway, I'm going to take this back real quickly, Greg, with this question that we know, before you even hit that greatness, before you really start finding your purpose and your calling, there's a part in our life that causes this severe breakdown or this pain, this very deep pain, that then ultimately becomes the catalyst to our purpose. So if you wouldn't mind sharing, what is that point in your life where you said, no more, and this hurts too much, and I have to do something about this?
I think I live my life that way, where I have a thing about boundaries, and I believe in healthy boundaries. So I do it all the time, daily. When people come by, I set boundaries and expectations ahead of time. And what happens is that everyone knows where they stand. You don't have to agree to it. You don't have to even, be part of the conversation. But at least by me putting it out there, I'm comfortable in my own space. And I think that's where I'm at now. Back in the days, we had breaking points. Look, I've been divorced 3 times, but the fact is I've never had a lawyer. I mean, we've all done it peacefully. 3 divorces in California, and I love my ex-wives. They're amazing people, and I'm still friends, and it's really a unique thing. And I realized that challenges don't have to be all so negative. They could just be an experience you go through. And if you don't lie, cheat, and steal, and you're a good person, well, even though you're challenging moments, you can get through them okay. So even when I was broke or things were going my way, rather than run from it, I'd run and say, hey, landlord, here's my situation. Instead of trying to hide from you, I can't afford rent. How do we work this out? And so I was always putting myself out there so I didn't have to face that ejection or being kicked out or things of that nature. And I realized just by communication solves things. So thank goodness for that. And then the other side of that, when I was 24, the one, I think, thing I ever had was I got sober. So I'm 30 years sober guy. I don't drink, smoke, use drugs. Don't really talk about it. Just don't. And what's interesting is that even then, I never hit one of those bottoms you hear about. I lived in La Jolla and drove a BMW and had a pretty good life. But I just decided that that boundary was the time to draw a line in the sand and say I was done. So my answer is you don't have to have complete fallout and breakdown to have success. You can communicate your way through the challenges to make it a little bit easier so everyone knows where they stand.
Greg, you said